Hello, Internet. Welcome to Full Frontal Developer. No doubt you've seen some flashy web page content in your time and wondered to yourself, how exactly is that done? Today, with only a couple of files and a few lines of code, we ourselves are going to create something super fantastic. So today's project is going to be a KeyCode decoder. If I open up our browser, we can take a look at the final project here, which is just a very simple browser window with a message box in the middle that entices the user to press any key to get a key code. And so we'll just press a key here at random. We'll do Q. And then it changes to three little windows that tells us the event key, which in this case is Q, the event key code, which happens to be 81, and this is just the numerical value of the Q key, and then the event code, which is that it's a key of Q. If I press a few more, we'll see P gives us the event key P, the key code of 80, and a key of P. We can also do escape, we can do left shift, we can do the up arrow, we can do the backspace, and so it's just a neat little utility program that provides all of this information about any sorts of keystrokes the user might be using. And so we'll go ahead and dive right into Visual Studio and get started with this project. You can see here I have the bare bones, the index.html, the script.js, and the style.css to start us off. So we'll go ahead and begin with the index. This is going to be a typical doc type, so let's declare it as a doc type. And then we'll make sure that we include our HTML. And we'll go ahead and open up an HTML tag. We'll define our language as being English, like so. And then inside that, we'll make a head tag. And the head tag will have a couple of meta tags. And let's see, we'll do a character set. This will be very important with this particular utility app of UTF-8. And let's see, let's go ahead and close that off. Next, we'll do another meta tag. This one's going to be our viewport, so it's going to be name equals viewport. And the content is going to be equal to the width of the device, which is going to be like so. And we'll do initial scale equals 1.0, and we'll close that off. And under the last one, actually we'll go ahead and do a link now to our style sheet. And this is going to be located in style.css. And then after that, we'll go ahead and do our title. We'll just call this event KeyCode, like so. All right, and I believe that's everything that needs to be in our header. So let's go ahead and define our body tag. And in the body tag, we're going to have a couple of divs. The first div we're going to have is going to be called the ID of insert. And then within that div, we're going to have our initial div, which is going to prompt the user to press any key. And we'll call this one class of key. And we'll just simply type in there in straight HTML to press any key to get the key code. And then outside of the outer div, we'll go ahead and ensure that we have our scripting source. Our script source is going to be equal to script.js, like so. And that should be everything we need for the body. So we'll go ahead and run this with live server. And as you can see here, it's very simple. It just says press any key to get key code. Not very pretty. It's up in the upper left. But let's go ahead and pull this off to the side so we can watch this as we continue building it. So we'll go ahead and jump into our style and begin to style the three different divs that are going to be popping up with the codes in them. And before we do that, let's go ahead and source out our font. For this one, if we go to fonts.google.com, I've selected here a beautiful font called Ubuntu, and I'm going to pick the 400 weight. Right over here under the import selection, you can copy and paste this import tag, like so. Paste that right into the style.css, and you are good to go with using that font. We'll go ahead and make sure that we can switch back over to our browser here where we can view the project as we're building it. All right, so if we begin moving forward with our style, after we pick that import, let's go ahead and define universal styling here with the asterisk. And in the universal styling, we're just going to do box sizing and we're going to do border box like that. Next, we're going to define some body styling. In the body, we want to have the background color. We'll just make it a nice gray. It'll do E1, E1, E1 to give us a nice soft gray color there. The font family, we're going to make sure to include Ubuntu so that gets sourced correctly. Then the display we'll define as being flex. That way it fills the container. And in doing that, we'll go ahead and make sure to align our items to center and justify content to center. That'll keep everything right in the middle. Text alignment we'll also make as being center. And then we'll just give it a height property of 100 viewports, 100 view heights, and the width isn't going to be important, but we will do overflow of hidden because we don't want to see the scroll bar if it happens to be smaller than that. And then we'll give it a margin of 0 so that we can define the margin specifically. After that, we need to make sure that we're defining the key div, and we'll do that by doing a class reference right there of key. We're going to have a border of 1 pixel solid, and we'll just give it another soft gray right here. And let me go ahead and bring up the browser window so we can see this in action. If I actually make this a little smaller, there we go. We're getting a little bit closer to that final product there. After the border, we'll go ahead and make sure that we give it a background color. The background color can just be, we'll do EEE, nice soft gray, like so. And then we'll do box shadow, just to give it a little bit of a pretty little shadow there. Let's do 1 pixel, 1 pixel, 3 pixels, and that's just going to be the offset of the shadow. And then the shadow, we're going to define the color of RGBA, and inside that we'll just do 0, 0, 0 to make it black, and then a 0.1 for the opacity, like so. Barely noticeable, but it is there. Next, we're going to define the display as being inline flex, and we'll align items to the center. We'll give it a font size of 20 pixels, like that. And then we'll do some padding here so that it's not all crunched up inside the box. Let's do padding of 20 pixels. Very nice. Next, let's do a flex direction, and we'll do this as column. And we'll do a margin of 10 pixels. And after that, we'll do a font weight. And we'll make it bold. Then we'll do a minimum width of 150 pixels. And this just gives us a little bit more control over the components if the user happens to be looking at it on a smaller screen. And so then we can do position relative. And that should be everything we need for the key class. Now let's attack the key class, and we're going to have the property defined as being small. This is actually an HTML tag, but we're going to specifically style the small tag that we're going to actually add using our JavaScript. So this one is going to be position absolute, and we're going to have it come down from the top about negative 24 pixels, and we'll have it aligned directly to the left. So we'll have a left alignment of 0, like so. We won't actually see this until those divs are added in, and we're going to add those in dynamically with the JavaScript, but you'll see it'll look just like our demonstration. Text align will be center. We'll give it a width of 100% so that it fills in the entire field. And then we'll do a color of just another simple gray. It'll be a nice dark gray, 555. And then we'll give it a font size of 14 pixels. All right, again, none of that's going to show up, but again, if we were to jump back in here and assign one of them a small div, so let's say just for kicks we're going to assign a small div right here. And we save that, you see that we've got exactly the styling that was shown in the demonstration there. So those will be for the titles of the boxes. We'll go ahead and get rid of that for now. Just wanted to show that it was working. All right, so that's about everything we need in the style, and the script is going to be even more simple, I think, that you'll appreciate. So we'll go ahead and define in our script.js a constant that we'll call insert, and this is the insert div that we defined in our HTML. So we'll go ahead and grab that from the document. We'll get a get element by ID, and we called it insert. Next, we're going to use some DOM manipulation. We're going to find the window. We're going to do an add event listener to the entire browser window. And this listener we're going to listen for is going to be a key down. This is one that's already defined in the document object model, so we don't have to do any further functioning or anything like that. But whenever this event happens, whenever this key down event happens, we're going to capture the event. We'll call it event. We'll do an arrow function. And then whenever that event is passed through, we're going to insert, or rather we're going to take our insert object, which is an HTML div, and we're going to set the inner HTML to the following. And I'll go ahead and space down a line here. We're going to use backticks because we're going to need to pass through some template literals. And inside these backticks that we're going to be passing through to the inner HTML, basically resetting that inner HTML, we're going to pass in a div. We'll give it a class of key. That way it takes on the styling that we defined. And inside that div, we're going to have, let's go ahead and close it out so we don't forget. And as a matter of fact, let's go ahead and make all three of these because we're going to need one for the event code, and the key code. So let's copy these three divs. They're all going to be of class key because we have that styling defined. We want them to be uniform. And inside each one of these divs, we're going to pass through the relevant information. So using a template literal, which is just going to be the $sign and the curly braces, we want to have it be the key of the event. So let's first assume that they press the space bar. So let's capture that event. So we're going to use an event.key, which is a method of the event object. And we're going to see, is it equal to a blank space? And if it is, using a ternary function, we're just going to say pass through the literal word space, and in the event that it's not, we're going to pass in whatever key it was. And that should be everything. Actually, no, let's go ahead and define our small tags. So our small tags are just going to pass through the literal value of the event key. And we'll close out that small tag. And this is everything that we're going to put in our div. So down here, likewise, we're going to have a template literal. Inside the template literal, this one's going to be the event.keyCode. You'll see here that there's a slash through the line keycode. All that means is that this particular method is going to be, it's deprecated, so it's not going to be supported for very much longer. Hopefully by the time this video is being watched, it's still supported. It'll still work, it just is informing the developer that this eventually is not going to have any support, and there should be some sort of workaround that can be looked up, or, you know, in the case of the keycode, I don't want to spend too much time looking it up, but there might be some sort of workaround coming, or some sort of enhanced version of this. But as for now, it is deprecated, so expect that it's going to lose support at some point in the future. I'm not really sure at what point. So, but it'll still work, so we'll go ahead and still use it. Then we'll go ahead and pass through our small tag, and we're going to pass through literally the event key code that we captured there. And in the next one, we're going to do a similar thing. We'll open up a template literal. We're going to capture the event code, and then that event code will also pass through to our small tag, literally whatever that code is. And then we have that closing backtick there. So this is pretty much it. All we're doing is we're grabbing the insert div from our HTML. We are going to change the inner HTML whenever there is this event of key down. Whatever that event happens to be, we're going to decode the event key code, and then the event code, and we're going to pass those through using template literals into the HTML. And these two backticks are going to be what gets passed to that inner HTML, and we're using the backticks because these template literals require that we do. So that should be everything that we need. Let's go ahead and save that. We'll see if there's any errors here by opening this up, and we'll go ahead and maximize it, and let's see if we can press a key. We'll do the S key. All right, interesting. So there's something not quite working about that. Let's go ahead and dive in and see where the error might be. So if we pull back open our source code here, check the JavaScript, and okay, so I did pass through the value, but I forgot to use the equals operator to make sure that I'm setting it equal to the inner HTML. So insert.innerHTML is equal to this value right here. Let me save that and see if that changes things. We'll jump back in here and we'll try the S key. And it looks like it worked. We got the event key of S, the key code is 83, and it is a key of S. We'll try a few more. Let's do a left arrow. Let's do a page down. Let's do the escape, and we'll do a tab. We'll do the right shift. Right shift doesn't seem to be working. That's very interesting. Oh, now it worked. Okay, so here you are. Hopefully this was fun and educational. I look forward to seeing everyone back again in the next video. And don't forget, as always, all of this code is available in a link to the GitHub in the description. Thank you very much and have a wonderful day.